Robert F. Kennedy Jr. joins the program now from someplace. Where are you, Robert?
I'm up north of Portland, Maine. I'm actually driving up to see Tucker in the remote North Woods.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's way out there. So, Robert, I don't know if you saw my ex response to you this weekend. I doubt you did, but I did.
It was beautifully written, Glenn, and I was so happy to see that. And I was so happy about, the sympathies and the vision that you had of people coming together in our country and having to understand that people who disagree with you on issues are not your enemies. They can still be your brothers and sisters.
Right.
And that
I wanted to ask you, because as I said in that, you don't risk your life for things you don't believe in. And you've had Secret Service pulled from you now by this administration, which I think is reprehensible. How uncomfortable are you with that decision?
I'm okay. Listen, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. My life is in God's hands. I'm okay with, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, whether I have that or not. I think it's the fact that they would not give me Secret Service protection for so long.
Yeah.
It's troubling for our country because it's part of the weaponization of the agencies, the politicization of the agencies. When my father became Attorney General in early 1961, his first week in office, he called all of the division chiefs, the branch chiefs, the Department of Justice together, and he said, the one thing that we're never going to do is ask if a potential defendant is Republican or Democrat. The country needs to know that justice is blind, that our institutions are not partisan, and that's what makes America really great, is that government is, these institutions are supposed to be purged of political sympathies. And that's the only way
they're not. The reason why I ask you about the Secret Service is you didn't just leave the party and run against Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. Now you've taken the real extremist position to endorse Donald Trump. What pushed you into that move? What scares you about the Kamala Harris victory that would move you to endorse Donald Trump?
Eden Pure is back with their famous Thunderstorm air purifier. It's their top seller air purifier that quickly destroys viruses, odors, mold, and so much more. With thousands of 5-star reviews, you know it works. Any smell will vanish after just a few seconds of the Thunderstorm being plugged in. Odors, litter boxes, trash cans, cigarette smokes, dirty diapers. Wow, I don't want to visit that house. The powerful Thunderstorm sends out O3 molecules that seek out and destroy odors. I have these in my house. They're great. The molecules go behind and under furniture. Nothing can hide from the Thunderstorm. Best of all, no filters to buy over and over again, saving you money. Start enjoying your home again and get several Thunderstorms. Right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for the whole home protection. You get 3 units for under $200. Put one in your basement, bedroom, family room, kitchen, wherever you need the air to be clean. Go to EdenPureDeals.com, EdenPureDeals.com. Use the promo code Beck and save.
Yeah, our polling from the beginning was saying that we were hurting Donald Trump much more than we hurt the Democrats. So our polling consistently showed that about 57% to 60% of our voters would vote for Trump if I left. And so it was odd that President Trump and the Republican Party never really attacked me. And, it was not trying to keep me off of ballots. They weren't deploying, private investigators to dig up every piece of dirt about me, publicize it, which is what the Democrats had this entire organization that was that was designed to destroy me, to character assassinate me, and to keep me off the ballot. But it was ironic because I actually hurt the Trump organization. I hurt the Republican Party much more. When it became clear to me that I was not going to be allowed on the debating stage, and the mainstream media had successfully stonewalled me. So, I gave 2 live interviews on the major networks in 16 months. Ross Perot had 34 interviews in 10 months. I only had 2 live interviews on ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN. And so I was being stonewalled there. I was not going to be allowed on the debating stage. And that really was my path to victory. I could not talk to most Americans. So it became clear to me that we did not have a clear path to the White House, and that if I stayed in the race, that the likelihood was that my presence in the race would get the Vice President Harris elected. Vice President Harris, for me, and if you looked at her speech during the Democratic convention, it was a deep state speech. She was preceded weirdly by CIA officials who were speaking at the Democratic election, and military officials, and it was a neocon speech that was about more wars and more wars and more wars, and that is the only policy she's really defined herself as.
Right.
And I think we're so close to World War III right now. We're so close to nuclear exchange with the Russians. And then the Trump administration, President Trump reached out to me immediately after his shooting. And we began talking. We had a series of meetings by telephone and in person in Minneapolis and in Mar-a-Lago. And talked about the things that surprised me that we had in common, that he wants to end the Ukraine war immediately. He wants to protect children's health. He wants to end the censorship. And those are the 3 principal reasons that I got in the race. And he asked me, not only to join this election, but to help him in his administration to make sure they're able to accomplish some of those goals. That, and to do a unity party where we would be able to criticize each other on the issues on which we disagree, but continue to work for a greater good on the issues that really unite Americans and that are good for our country.
That's the way it should be. So I talked to Don Jr., and he told me that he wanted you to pick a 3-letter agency that you could blow up. Those were his words. Which 3-letter agency would you be most inclined to say, President Trump, please, I'd like this agency?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really discussed that. And, there's a number of agencies. I've talked about reforming many of the agencies, from the CIA to HHS, et cetera. But we're focused on the kind of the larger theme of the administration, which is public health, restoring America's health, make America healthy again. And we've got to, that our country will be unified when we learn to love our children more than we hate each other. And we're letting our children down now. As you know, Glenn, 60% of them now have chronic disease. 77% of American kids cannot get in the military because of health reasons. And, this is our national security emergency. It's a moral crisis for our nation. And we are poisoning a generation.
I think your time has come on a lot of this. I think Americans are looking at the processed food and a lot of stuff that the pharmaceutical companies are doing. And, the right never looked at that stuff. Big Pharma, it's a fine. That's changed dramatically since COVID. And I think people, I see this happening with conservatives where they're becoming the They're becoming the people that used to be on the Democrat side, little granola and look, I want to get away from processed foods.
Yeah, it's really funny. One of the time that I really noticed this change is when Tucker Carlson did a whole show on endocrine disruptors. Endocrine disruptors are a class of chemicals that interfere with fertility and sexual development, and they're like PCBs and atrazine, PFOAs, which are flame retardants, which are now ubiquitous in the environment. He did a whole show on it. For 30 years, I've been trying to get Republicans to pay attention to this. I've been suing those companies, and only the Democrats would talk about it. And when Tucker Carlson did that, the Democrats rained holy hell down on him and said, he's blaming chemicals for turning people gay, which of course he wasn't doing. But they completely ignored the issue, and they turned it into a tribal issue. And so now the Democrats are on the other side of that. They're applauding the chemicals in our food. They're applauding the dominance of pharmaceutical and big food processing companies of the agencies that are supposed to regulate them.
Right.
And it's been such a turnaround that, the Republicans are now the party of the clean environment. They're the anti-toxic toxin party. And they're the party that is protecting children's health rather than corporate profit-taking and the mercantile interests of these companies that are poisoning the entire nation.
I'm wondering if you moving over to endorse Donald Trump is going to make regular Democrats, not the crazy Democrats and the ones, many of them in the administration, but the average Democrat that loves their country and wants to get along, et cetera, et cetera. I wonder if this is going to be the beginning of a movement and a recognizing of how corrupt and how anti-democratic they are. I mean, what they're doing to Jill Stein and Cornel West, it has nothing to do with the word democracy. The people claiming to save democracy are doing everything they can to be, almost Putin in the election.
Yeah, I mean, the Democratic Party, demos in Greek means people. And so it means the party that trusts the people. And the Democratic Party no longer trust the American people. And that's why their big worry is about misinformation and disinformation. Well, that's not the government's job. The government's job is to trust the people and give them all the information they need, but not start censoring information. And the idea that they now have to censor information is an indicator that they do not trust the people. And they don't trust their own candidate. They're not letting her talk. Everything is about this ironclad control. They didn't trust the people to vote for their candidate, so they had to get me off the ballot using the judicial system, and Donald Trump off the ballot using the judicial system. Yeah. And it's all about a ironclad control of the outcomes and no longer having any trust in the people of our country. And there have been a series of political realignments throughout American history, about 4 or 5 big realignments, and one of those is happening right now. It's really interesting to be living through it and to have kind of a front row seat in it.
Yeah. I know this would only be your opinion. It's a little unfair for me to ask, but I've often thought that your uncle would not be welcome in this party today, that his views would be, I think, right-wing extremist to this party today. Do you think your father and your uncle would be welcome in the Democratic Party today?
I don't think so. I mean, both of them, the kind of central thrust of their policy interests was keeping the country out of war. My uncle was asked by one of his best friends, Ben Bradley, who ran the Washington Post, "What do you want on your gravestone? What do you want as your epitaph?" And he said, my uncle immediately said he kept the peace. He said the primary job of the president of the United States was to keep the country out of war. And he never sent a combat troop abroad during his 1,000 days in office. My father ran against the Vietnam War and was killed during that election. So those are issues that, both of them died for.
Right.
And the Democratic Party has now become the neocon party. It's become the party of war, and we're spending twice, in real dollars, we're spending twice on our military what we were at the height of the Cold War. And that money is not being spent for national defense. It's being spent for international domination. And it's not a good policy, and it's not working.
Well, Robert, I appreciate you pulling off to the side of the road, and I know you got to get back on the road. So thank you for talking to us, and thank you for your courage. I think your speech on Friday, which CNN broke away from almost immediately, I thought it was very powerful. Very powerful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Good to talk to you.
Bye-bye. Yep.